It's the 8 for 52 podcast.
G'day, this is Butters.
Buschy here.
This is episode 34, Buschy, of the 8 for 52 podcast.
Fourth ball. It's 2 balls left in the power play.
This is a massive episode too.
Oh,
Massive episode.
I'm excited.
Prize time later.
Oh, yes.
Prize
we're
time.
giving away prizes.
We are. DMS on Insta. We've had heaps of Instas this week. DMs all related to the prize, but we'll come to that soon. It's been fantastic. What about, where are we around the world, Buschy?
Well, interesting stat this week, Botters. Okay, I went and did my research, got the Chartable up, had a look, and for the first 14 days of May, we were the number 1 cricket podcast in cricket heaven.
Whereabouts?
Barbados.
Barbados?
Yes.
Number 1.
I don't know why.
Oh, I might have an explanation for that, actually.
Really?
World Cup coming up in the West Indies and USA.
Yeah.
All the associate teams flying in, probably based in Barbados.
Oh,
Looking into the podcast.
I want to be based in Barbados.
Well,
I'm
that was
still
our
salty about
that was our plans, wasn't it?
You were going to the US. I was going to Barbados.
Boys let us down.
Well, there you go. The number 1 podcast. It's tanked now. We're down to number 4.
Oh, I'll take 4.
Exactly.
Having been number 1 for half of May, that's fantastic. Barbados, everyone in Barbados, enjoy yourselves.
Barbadans?
Barbadiosians.
Okay.
Barbadiosians, no, I don't know what they are. Anyway, you're out there.
Wonderful
keep
people.
Send us an Insta.
Yeah.
DM us on Insta. Tell us what the beach is like. Surf's up.
Yeah, really rub salt into the wounds of us not going to the World Cup.
Exactly. What about my story this week? Jay, the Namibian Nightmare, Davidson.
Massive my story with somebody who might know the Jamaican juggernaut. He may know something about Barbados as well.
Jay Davidson, one of the most loved cricketers in Hong Kong, joins us for my story, so listen in for that one. We're going to have all last week's results in outs and ins, including the Saturday Cup semi and the grand final. Buschy, just I want to make a comment here.
Oh, I bet you do.
Just on the Gap Ramblers.
Go
so
on.
I made it. I mean, you always say this is my podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I made an executive decision that all last week's tips don't count.
No.
Okay.
No.
Because that team that the Gap Ramblers put out wasn't the Gap Ramblers.
Welcome to cricket in Hong Kong in May, my friend.
I've got a little bit of inside word
Okay, go on.
about what happened there.
Please.
All right. So Jack Matters, very excited, wakes up on Buddha's birthday.
Yeah.
Semi-final coming up against the arch rivals over at KCC. He rocks up. Team bus is there, ready to go. Jack gets on, jumps on the bus. He looks around the bus. Jared Mongstein's there. Nawaz is there. Mohsin Khan's there. Looks at Jared. He says, "What's going on? Where's the rest of the boys?" Jared says, "This is it. There's 4 of us." Right? So we've got, and Jack said, "This won't do. This won't do." He's a quick thinker.
Yeah.
He's a quick thinker. He says, "Boys, Jared, Nawaz, 80 Peronis I want. 2 Eskies, 80 Peronis. Mohsin Khan. Now, look, I know you've had a dodgy knee. You've just come back. Don't want you carrying Esky. Too heavy. You go and get 7 uniforms. Okay? Out of the new shop. Right? Go and grab the 7 uniforms." They do that. Peronis go on the bus. Off they go, down the hill. Jack's got a plan. He goes to the bus driver. He says, "Look, I know we're heading across the Coxie door, right? Before we do, we just need to duck up to the mid-levels." They pull up outside a pub, right, in the mid-levels.
Yeah.
Jack gets out of the bus, walks into one of the pubs, stands on the table, says, "Free beers on the bus," right? 7 of us. I need 7 of you on the bus, free beers. And, of course, he knows it's Buddha's birthday, so it's packed. The pub's packed. 7 punters on the bus, right? Jump on the bus, says the bus driver, "Lock the door." Bus driver locks the door. Off they go. Couple of Peronis for the 7 boys come round. Jared Mongstein hands out the Peronis. Off they go. They start heading down towards the Cross Harbour Tunnel, right? The 7 blokes, they're getting nervous. They've never been across the other side of the harbour before, right? I think they're being kidnapped. One of them says, "My wife went over here Shenzhen shopping one day." They thought they were going to Shenzhen. Anyway, they rock up. He tells them, "Right, you got to pay for your Peronis, right? I need you out in the field, right? I need you to do your best." Yeah? That's how that Gap Ramblers team was put together. Mongstein, Metters, Nawaz, Mohsin Khan, and 7 blokes from a pub. And that's why tips don't count from last week, Buschy.
Oh, I think there's some embellishment in that story. It's not
just what I was told.
Well, Considering that the ones that filled in were all about 16, I'm very concerned about how many underage drinkers
They're
there
pretty
were on
relaxed
that bus.
over there, you know that,
Would
on the other
seem
side.
So, anyway, the tips count. We're going to get to them in ins and outs.
It's just an absolute disgrace. Also, a couple of double headers in the Sunday Elite T20 Cup as well. We'll cover all of that in outs and ins. Then we'll move on to ins and outs. What have we got there? What have we got coming up? Triple header out at Mission Road.
Yeah.
To finish off the group games of the T20 Cup.
That's not this weekend, though, so... There's a group gate
I think it is at Sunday.
There's group stages.
Yeah.
The semi-final and final are June 2.
Exactly.
Oh, well,
exactly.
I'll find out all about that in ins and outs then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the lineups for that. That could be interesting as well. Prize time, Buschy.
Prize time!
First big prize, 8 for 52 podcast. We put it out there during the week.
Yeah.
KCC Ball this coming Saturday night. We put up a ticket.
Yeah, well,
You
I put up a ticket.
You put up a ticket.
Look, full honesty, my wife was going to come, but things have happened and she's not available to attend, so I thought I'd donate it to the 8 for 52 podcast and we'd get a special guest come and join us.
We're absolutely knocked over with responses.
Yeah,
up in the double figures. And we're not going to go through them all. We can't go through them all in the time that we've got. We want to go through a couple.
Go through the top 5.
Yeah, go in no particular order, except we'll have the winner last. We had a great entry from Nushikals.
Yeah, Nusha on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me get to her response. Her favourite moment was definitely the Junior All-Stars podcast. It took her back to when she played for KCC and the entire childhood that she had spent around KCC. So I thought that was absolutely lovely.
Wonderful, and it was a wonderful podcast, and it was a wonderful All-Stars for the juniors.
And very, very, very close to winning.
Very close.
Has C put one in, Buschy?
Haseeb Mohammed from PACC Rising Falling Stars.
What was that all about?
We can't mention what his entry. We went through it, and another one that was very close to winning, but the story that Haseeb told, we've decided might come out the wrong way and end up in court and will be libelous and sland us.
And we can't go down that path, but Haseeb, it was a great entry, and thank you very much for it. Maria Beloche.
Myra.
Maria.
You got the last name right and screwed up the first name.
M-A-I-R-A. Right?
Yeah, Myra.
Yeah, Myra. Fantastic entry. She tried to trick us, Buschy.
Yeah, she did.
She told us she had the funniest story in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And so I asked, what was it? And she went, I don't know.
Yeah, she said if she'd tell us that it would win immediately and she wanted to be benevolent and let others win.
Myra, thank you so much for your entry. Niaz Ali sent one in as well.
Yeah, very cryptic.
Didn't understand it.
Very cryptic from Niaz Ali.
He's dressed in his Sunday kit, his Sunday playing kit, playing darts, hitting a bullseye. So
at HKCC.
Yeah, up at HKCC. So I'm not sure what was going on, but it was thank you for the entry anyway. Now the winner.
Now for the winner, yes, and with multiple entries from the winner.
And I think this is why he got across the line, was because there was 4 or 5 funny stories, which are not going to go into all of them, but
we'll mention them at the awards night.
Yeah, we will do. First one was Jay dancing Arnie.
Yeah.
When he got chased by a wasp in the commentary box and knocked everything over.
Ruined one of my headsets running away from a wasp, and not the wasp on the computer we talk about that projects the scores. This was just a
real life wasp.
Garden variety wasp, and he's not a big fan, so he fled. He took all the broadcast with him because he was connected to the headset. That was a defining moment.
And something else close to your heart, Buschy. He loves the way when you're testing your mics and you say, "Can somebody turn me on, please?"
Yeah, well, you see, I've got to come up with a better phrase for that because during broadcast I go out into the middle and I tell production, "Look, I need one of you to turn me on." So it can be like, "Myra, can you turn me on?" when Myra Beloche is in broadcast, or Sachin.
That's very inappropriate. Very inappropriate, Buschy.
Well, one time I told Sachin, "You're not turning me on."
Yeah.
Somebody see if you can turn me on, because Sachin, you do not turn me on. Yes. So the winner, we haven't even said the name.
Atif.
Atif Hussain.
Absolutely. Great shout. Thank you to everyone for entering. Atif is the winner. He will be joining us at our table on Saturday night at the KCC Ball on behalf and on the house of the 8 for 52 podcast.
Well, I'd say that Atif has seen more cricket in this last season than pretty much anybody in Hong Kong apart from me. Me at the same time. So he's seen plenty of cricket, so he's got plenty of stories, and a worthy winner for all the hard work he's done throughout the season.
Absolutely, and thanks everyone for their entries. No Sky Plaza Road this week. We haven't got anything as far as internationals are concerned. So this is the 8 for 52 podcast with Botters and Buschy. Let's get on with the show, my friend.
Giddy up.
It's time for Outs and Ends, a full wrap of senior cricket games in Hong Kong from last weekend. Here's Botters.
All right, outs and ends, and we'll kick it off with Sunday Elite T20 Cup in Pool 1. A double header up the hill in the morning, kicking off at 10 a.m. The Scorpions played the LSW Knights. It's the first one of the double header, and the Scorpions batted first. Plenty of 20 odds, actually. Raf Panjwani, Ninad Shah, David Jakia. He got 27 off 12 balls. Oh, no, it was Charlie Wallace, 27 off 12 balls. That led the Scorps to 144.
Now, I didn't know if that was going to be enough, but the poor old Knights were never really in it, finishing on 78, with Ange taking a 4 for 20, and the Knights losing by 26 under DLS method.
Yeah, good win for the Scorps there in the morning. In the afternoon, it was the Infidels they had to face at 2 o'clock, and rain again. That was around in the afternoon. Farouk Saeed, he top scored with 33. The Infidels were all out for a pretty paltry 104.
Yeah, the Scorps ran that down in a ridiculous, 5.5 overs. Anshuman Rath 53 off just 17 and Haroon 46 off 19. The Scorpions through to the semis. I know when I do it,
that's outrageous.
It is outrageous. It was just it was a shellacking.
No tips this weekend, Buschy.
We both
They
picked
don't count.
Scorpions against the Knights, so you got a tip there. And you did pick the Scorps against the Infidels. I picked the Infidels. So you're 2 from 2 in the week that doesn't count. Go on.
Yeah. Pool 2. This was a doubleheader as well. KCC. You broadcast this, did you? The doubleheader?
Certainly did.
Yeah. Optimus up against the Templars in the morning at 10 a.m. Oh dear, what happened here, Buschy? Templars were 1 for 118 when they lost Atkinson for 64 off 21. Sonny Bimsaria, a massive 122 off just 57, including 9 sixes, and the Templars after 20 with 265. Obviously, a little bit tough to run down.
Yeah, one of the highlights of that innings, pretty much the only highlight for the Opties, was young Arav Mishra, who managed to bowl 2 overs, 4 for 11.
Out of a total of 265, he bowled 2 overs, 4 for 11.
4 for 11. He's not only that, so he's a slow bowler, young fella. He's about knee-high to a grasshopper. Made him bowl from the pavilion end.
Good boy.
Bowling from the pavilion end, 4 for 11, slow bowling.
Should have bowled 4 overs.
Yeah, well, in the end, rain came, and it was a DLS win to the Templars. The Opties going down by 61.
Yeah, flogged in the afternoon. So Templars 1 foot in the semi-finals there. In the afternoon, they play the USRC Vagabonds. Rain around again in the afternoon. Experimental opening batting combo, actually, for the Templars. Pascoe and Davidson.
That's a polite way of putting it.
Well, they did very well. They both got into their 30s, and they led the Templars to 7 for 150 off the 17 overs.
Yeah, we were a late start because the rain started falling in the Opties game and continued. We didn't get started till about 2:30. Good score, though, on what was a degrading pitch, and it had a lot of water on it. Well, the Vagabonds timed their run to perfection, and when play was called off after 8 overs, they were in front on DLS, just beating the Templars, and they take the semi-final place. Now, I want to just talk about this. That final over, they went bang, 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 bang. They were behind DLS at the start of the over, in front at the end of the over. Rain came down. Perfect timing. Well done to the Vagabonds there off to the semis.
Yeah, congratulations there to the Vagabonds. That's a big win. And yeah, timed their run to perfection, got home on DLS, knocked the Templars out, and they go through to the semis. That's absolutely fantastic for them. USRC all round having a good year, aren't they?
Yeah, they are on the tips that you're not counting, so
Yeah.
I'm reading out. We both picked the Templars, and we got the morning game. We both picked the Templars in the afternoon, so we lose.
Yeah, well, all right, we'll count them when I get them right.
Okay.
We're not counting this next one.
Oh, yeah,
Saturday
we are.
Cup.
Bring it on.
Saturday Cup. Second semi-final, May 15, public holiday, Buddha's birthday. We've already covered the selection policy from the Gap Ramblers. They went up against the Tartars. Niaz Ali, a swashbuckling 82 off 41, and Vikas Sharma, 40 off 18. With extras chipping in for 32, the Tartars after 20 were 212.
Yeah, we've mentioned already the Gap Ramblers. They were half of the under 15s and under 17s side trying to fill the gap of the Ramblers, but they didn't even get halfway through. All out for 102. Jack Meadows, the captain, 38 Monkston, the only other one to get into double figures of flogging. Let's have a look at the tips.
No, they don't count.
Botters, you've tipped the Gap Ramblers.
I did, but they didn't play.
And the Tartars was the pick for me.
I tipped the Gap Ramblers. They didn't play, therefore
that was actually
count.
a pretty full strength. That was a very strong Tartars side.
Yeah, up against the blokes from the pub. It was unbelievable.
Well, that's what happens.
Anyway, grand final was on. It was out at Mission Road, actually.
It was broadcast live.
Yeah,
thanks to Sky Warriors.
And what quite a battle it was. LSW Sky Warriors, Shal Shah 49, Haran Patel 58 or 47. And it was 176 for the Sky Warriors. A very good score.
Yeah, I actually thought that was a score that was going to win. It was big on an old pitch, but that did not include the factor of Niaz Ali. He got an 82 in the semi. That's not enough for him, so he comes out and belts a 104 or 48 with 7 sixes.
Outrageous.
Leading the way and supported by Farouk Saeed with 36. And the Tartars got home with 2 balls to spare. It was very close, but the Tartars are the champions.
Yeah, quite a win. Getting up in the last over. Tartars win the cup. Congratulations to them.
I'll just do the tips on that one. You picked the Gap Ramblers, who didn't make the final.
Well, the Gap Ramblers didn't even play the semi-final.
And I picked the Sky Warriors, so we're both wrong. Okay.
All right, no worries. That's it for Outs and Ends.
It's time for Ins and Outs, with all the weekend senior games covered. Here's Botters.
All right, Ins and Outs. One of the final ones for the year. Sunday Elite T20 Cup, the final pool games. They're coming up.
This is just never-ending season.
It just goes on and on. It's a triple header out at Mission Road this Sunday. Starting at 8:15 in the morning, a pool 4 match.
So very glad we're not broadcasting this. Could you imagine? Have to be there at 6:15, 6:30?
Yeah,
for
it'd be
broadcast.
ridiculous. Anyway, we don't have to worry about that.
On the Dragons.
Dragons versus USRC Elite. Who do you like in this one?
Well, I think that's a bit of a no-brainer. You can put me down for Imran and his lads from USRC.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't see. I mean, it's a T20. If Jason's playing and gets going.
Well, that's the other thing. It's the last weekend of May.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know who's playing, who's in town. We know that plenty of players are already taken off.
And USRC might be massively under strength if Jason does play, and there's some good performances from others around them. I'll give him a chance, but I've got to tip USRC. 11:15 Pool 3 game, Sri Lankan Lions up against LSW, which I believe is the number 1 team.
Yeah, the
LSW,
the SR team.
SR and DJ team.
Well, obviously, I'm going Little So What.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same.
On that other one game, we're talking about if USRC Elite have enough players. One of the downsides, I guess, is the Vagabonds have gone through to the finals, so it's not like they can drag players out of Vagabonds.
Well, they can't anyway. They're not allowed to.
Yeah, but I mean, they're fringe players that might be able to go up and down, the youngsters or whatever.
Yeah, the juniors.
They're unavailable because the Vagabonds are.
No, they're not. No, they can still play the juniors.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if they can play the juniors across either team. So.
Then they'll have a problem in the semi-final.
If they play each other, that's a different scenario, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so I'm going USRC and Little So What. What are finishing with?
Again, I give Lions a chance in this one. They're the sort of team, they've always got runs in them. And in a T20, if Bodhi Gua gets going and a couple of the others, if they're playing, we don't know who's playing. Yeah. But anyway, I'm tipping LSW. Finish off the day out there. Another Pool 4 game, Dragons. They play 2 games in the day. Dragons up against PACC Elite.
But again, is Zishan, is Yassim in town? Don't know, but I think PACC is still going to be too strong.
Yeah, I think you could take half that team out and they'll still beat the Dragons, I think. A lot rests on Jason's shoulders if he's playing. Could change my tip, actually. We're looking at the lineups on all of them, just like Gap Ramblers.
No, there's no change in the tips, mate.
Anyway. Hey, quick mention, Under-19 Cup final this Saturday as well. It's an 8:15 start on Saturday. HKCC Scorpions, they're Under-19 Scorpions up against LSW.
I very much hope that Jassim Uden and the team at Tin Kwong Road Recreation Ground have made a new pitch, because that pitch that they've been using is like flogging a dead horse. It's the All-Stars one, which is what we played the Saturday Cup final on, and we played other games on as well. The women's All-Stars training all use that same pitch from All-Stars men's.
Well, they might use Astro for the Under-19s even.
Maybe, because it's flogging a dead horse if he hasn't. I think they've got a new
Who are you going to tip,
like.
HKCC or LSW?
Under-19s grand LSW only got into the final by 3 runs, I think,
over
against KCC last weekend. So I think the Scorps have got this. That's a very strong Under-19s team. I've seen a few of them play with the Gap Ramblers in recent times.
Well, Shiv Matter will be out there and the Iceman will be out there. Yeah. So Danny Mapp, if he's in town, he'll be out there. Yeah, I think They go in favourites, and I've got to tip them as well. Also on Sunday, Buschy, there's 6 games across 2 grounds out of PKVR in the Women's Development League, I noticed. So,
Very busy. I think the KCC Maidens, who based
right.
here at Cowling Cricket Club, were recording. They've got a double header this weekend on Sunday.
No, there's 6 big games out there. So if you'd like your women's cricket, get out there and take a look. They're playing on the top ground and number 2 as well. So
they're playing on the grass and the Astro.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's my
fantastic.
understanding. Yeah, no. So it's fantastic, big Sunday out there. 6 games. All right, that's it for this week's ins and outs.
It's time for My Story, where the elites of cricket in Hong Kong tell us their story.
All right, welcome to another My Story, and this week it is an absolute privilege to have with us Jason Jay, the Namibian Nightmare Davidson. Jay, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me. I've been excited. I've been waiting for my call up, so it's good to be here.
Mate, we always say we're trying to save the best to last. We're getting near the end of the season, so we're getting on the big dogs, the big interviews.
And but it's just a quick question: is this Namibian Nightmare fellow any relation to the Jamaican Juggernaut?
The Jamaican Juggernaut's new on the scene actually in the last few weeks. I'm not sure if there's any relationship between the two. We might get into that later on. But before we get there, Jay, My Story. We always like to start with where'd you first fall in love with cricket? How did the cricket obsession, the cricket love begin?
I guess both my parents are both pretty sporty. So my mom was a national softball and hockey player.
Representing which country?
She represented in those days Southwest Africa, which was a state of South Africa, which is now Namibia.
Okay.
And then she represented Western Province in her university days as part of for softball and for hockey. And then my dad has been a sort of jack of all trades when it comes to sports. So he played a bit of rugby, played a bit of provincial hockey, I believe, and he plays cricket and golf. So I sort of always grew up with a ball in my hand. And so I guess it was when I was about 5 years old, my dad took me down to the Wanderers Cricket Club in Namibia, where there was an academy run by a couple of the national players at the time, one of them being Donnie Kilder, and I signed up that day and sort of went straight into it. So that's, I guess, where my love of cricket sort of really began. And then, my dad would come home every day from work and I'd be waiting at the gate for him with my bat and my ball, and we'd get to it sort of every afternoon after school.
We talked to Martin Kutsia earlier on a My Story, and he talked about cricket, rugby, and he wasn't sure about the two. You're a big unit. Did you play any rugby when you were a kid?
Yeah, I guess we might get onto this a bit later on, but at school it was certainly a big mix between, because in South Africa, I'm sure as Martin said, you play in different seasons. So you play cricket over the summer and rugby and hockey over the winter, which I did both at primary school and then later on at high school as well. So yeah, I played a bit of rugby, but again, injuries got a bit in the way there, so I decided to give rugby a bit of a...
We'll get to injuries a little bit later.
Yeah.
So five-year-old, you head down to the academy with your dad. How big an influence was your dad on your cricket?
Massive, I would say, pretty big, because he was always the one who was throwing balls at me in the garden or hitting me catches so I could try and replicate Jonty Rhodes in the field or something like that. So those sort of foundational years were pretty big.
Tell us about being a young boy growing up in Namibia and the sport, the schooling.
Yeah, I loved it. So in Namibia, school sport's very, very big, much like South Africa. So you play through the age groups. My dad and a few of the other dads, they would chip in at the school as coaches, because the schools didn't have coaches for the sport, so the parents really took it on. And Harry Erasmus, who's now the captain of the Namibian cricket side, his dad was coach of another school. Stephen Bard, who used to open the batting for Namibia as well, his dad was coach at another school, and so we would play a lot of schoolboy cricket against each other, and then every year there was a massive inter-school tournament in Namibia, a cricket week they called it, down at the coast. So all the schools would congregate down at the coast, and then they'll have under 9s, under 11s, under 13s.
So when you go through that age group process, started at 5 in the academy, 9s, 11s, 13s, when did you sort of start to shine? When did you hit rep cricket? When did it look like you might really make a go of this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So growing up, I always played in age groups ahead of me. So I never really played in my own age group. So by the time I was 7 years old, I was already into hardball cricket, playing at under 11 level. And then I think when I was 9, I got selected out of this cricket week. So essentially out of that school's cricket week, the Namibian Cricket Board select the Namibian team to go and play in the South African Provincial Week. And then so we would represent Namibia in
playing against boys from South Africa.
Correct, in their provinces. So there was Eastern Province, Western Province, Northern Cape, Gauteng, Northern Gauteng, etc. And so I from a fairly young age, I knew, or I guess other people knew, I had something about me that then I could represent the side. So I think when I was 9, I represented the under 11 side. 10 years old, I represented the under 11 side. And then when I was 11, I jumped straight into the under 13 side and then played there for 2 years.
And it ended up finishing up being a national representative for Namibia.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was good. So I went through the under 19 system, I think as most people did. And then we had the World Cup qualifiers in Ireland, under 19 World Cup qualifiers. At that stage, the qualifying process was a little bit more complicated than it is now. In terms of, we would play a very regional, very regional qualifier, and in that qualifier we had Zambia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Angola. So kind of all the neighbouring states, other than South Africa.
So this is under 19s level. You get through that qualification process and then basically go into a global qualifier?
Straight into a global qualifier. Right. So like Kenya went with us from the Africa, but they were in a completely different region. And so, we played against, I think in our pool we had Ireland, USA, Nepal, and Vanuatu.
And how did that go?
Well. So we beat Ireland. Oh, and we had Afghanistan when they were sort of really merging side then. So that went well. We beat Ireland, Nepal, and Vanuatu the first 3 games, which pretty much set us up to go into that top 2 to go into the playoffs. But if you finish top 2 of your pool, I think there were 4 pools. The top 2 sides automatically qualified for the World Cup, and then you would play in these playoff rounds to decide your seeding.
So did you end up qualifying for that under 19 World Cup?
We did, yeah. That was in Australia.
Fantastic.
In Brisbane, yeah.
So so you played all those games in Brisbane at under 19 World Cup?
At the World Cup, we played in Brisbane, and then because at the under 19 World Cup, then after the group stages, they break the World Cup up into like the plate.
Yeah,
section.
1 versus 8, 9 to 16, etc.
Cup section. So the bottom half stayed in Brisbane, and the top half went to Townsville. So we were actually quite happy we didn't have to.
Perfect.
To go out to Townsville.
Got to stay in Brisbane.
Yeah.
All the time in Bris Vegas.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. And after that, on to the men's team. To the national squad. Yeah,
so then straight after that, when I got back from that Under-19 World Cup, I did fairly well in that Under-19 World Cup. So when I got back from that, I got a call up straight away into the national men's side. And I think it was probably 2 weeks after that, we were playing against Kenya in an I-Cup game. So that I-Cup used to run
The old Intercontinental Cup.
Intercontinental
The
Cup.
4-day games.
4 days,
Yeah.
2 50 overs and a T20.
Yeah.
So I think it was 2 4-day games, 2 50 over games and a T20. And so I went straight into that when I got back, and that was a real baptism of fire.
I bet it was.
Yeah, to be steaming in for 20 odd overs.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
So you had a career, shortish career as far as the Namibian men's national team is concerned. How did you, with this interview's at Kowloon Cricket Club. Now, Kowloon Cricket Club's a hell of a long way away from Namibia.
Yeah.
So how did the transition happen? How did you end up in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think like most people who end up here. So when I finished university, because I studied in South Africa, I went to high school, boarding school in South Africa, and then later on went to university. So when I finished studying, I didn't really, because that was sort of the petering of my professional cricket career.
Yeah.
So when I'd finished studying, I didn't really know where to go, because I couldn't stay in South Africa because I wasn't a citizen.
Yeah.
So I couldn't obtain a work visa to stay there, because otherwise I probably would have gone and taught at my boarding school. I didn't really want to go back to Namibia because there's not really that much opportunity for teachers over there. And weirdly enough, a mate of mine just said to me from university, Dave Emsley, he said, his son is working in Hong Kong as a teacher and he's really enjoying it. So maybe you should have a look there. Which I did, but in true Davidson fashion, I didn't really do too much research into it. So I just applied for a tuition job online, and 2.5 weeks later after the interview, I was in Hong Kong.
No way.
Yeah. And so my missus wasn't very happy because I didn't consult anyone or anything about it. I just decided I'm going, and told her, and she still had a year of studies left, and told her, well, I'm going to Hong Kong because it's kind of my only option at the moment. So
2.5 weeks after you've
2.5 weeks
applied,
after I'd applied, I was in
you're
Hong
on the
Kong.
ground in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Dare I ask, was that Mrs. the same Mrs. that we'll get to later in the story?
Correct, the one I married to. Not
Oh, okay. Just wanted to check. Okay. Phew. The tuition job didn't ruin a budding romance.
So I'm tipping that in that 2.5 week period, you didn't have a great deal of opportunity to scout out cricket opportunities as far as Hong Kong is concerned. How did you end up at Kowloon Cricket Club?
Again, I kind of forgot cricket existed in Hong Kong, but I'd played against Hong Kong many times in my career, in the I-Cup games, in World Cup qualifiers. But I just kind of
Your mind was on your
slipped
professional
my mind,
career.
and just trying to settle in here because it was such a...
What year was that? What year did you touch ground?
2018.
Okay, 2018.
2018.
Yep.
So, I was just trying to get used to the place because it was so different to anything I'd ever experienced. So for the first 6 months, cricket hadn't even... I'd brought my cricket kit with me, but for the first 6 months, cricket hadn't even crossed my mind. And we have a family, I had a family friend who was living here, Steph Rowland, who had dated Tim Cutler, who was the ex CEO of Cricket Hong Kong.
Know Tim very well.
And Steph's family and my family are very, very close friends from Namibia. And so when the penny dropped that I could play cricket here, I'd messaged Steph and I asked her, how do I get involved in cricket in Hong Kong? Because I know you have some sort of connections.
Good story.
She said to me, well, my boss, so she's an architect, and she said to me, my boss is actually currently the president of the Hong Kong Cricket Club, Gavin Erasmus.
Mm-hmm.
So I can set up something there for you. So I said, yes, please. So I went up and trialed there, and that was probably March 2019, I think.
You're trialling at Hong Kong Cricket Club.
Trialling at Hong Kong Cricket Club, and I had a trial with Craig Wright at the time, and Ryan Buckley was the assistant coach, and they had just won the Premier League, and then Buckers invited me to join them for drinks because they were having their celebratory drinks that evening, and so I went to the Chater
room up the top, yeah.
And I went to my trial in shorts and flip-flops, but in the evening you can't enter there without long pants and closed shoes. So Isaac Poole actually lent me a pair of his jeans and some shoes. And I went up there, and then I met Anshi, who I'd played a lot of cricket against at the international level. And I sort of sat around the table and I had a great night, shared a cab back with Isaac Poole. And then Steph messaged me the next morning to say, how did your trial go up at Hong Kong Cricket Club? And I said it was great, but something didn't quite fit. Right, it didn't sit right. And I said it's great, but I struggled to get on with some of the guys up the hill for various reasons.
Sure,
I'm a barefoot kid from Namibia. These guys are largely in the financial sector in Hong Kong, and I couldn't relate to any of the conversations they were having, etc. So Steph mentioned that actually there's another cricket club, and I know Scotty, so let me put you in contact with Scotty. So
that's when McKechnie was the head coach.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I then messaged Scotty. Scotty said, "Come down here. We're having our season. Come for a trial. Come for a net, and we're having our season opener this evening." Which was lawn bowls on the cricket ground.
Yeah.
So I came for a trial, and then I was barefoot on the cricket ground playing barefoot lawn bowls. We ended up in the bar over here in the corner, and I sat next to Nige, Ashley, Stiller, Matt Collins, and Jamie.
Oh, goodness me, that's quite a crew.
Yeah, and then we ended up in Knutsford Terrace, and that was...
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, and then I just said, well, this is definitely the place
fit
for
for
me.
you.
Yeah. And I preferred the structure of having, because at Hong Kong Cricket Club previously they used to split their squads.
Yeah.
And I preferred the structure they had here at KCC, where they kind of had a pinnacle team, the Templars in the Sunday League, and then everyone sort of feeds up to that instead of splitting the squad. So they had the one really strong side, which I enjoyed.
What does that's a great story, and I think it's important that you go with your gut.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Hong Kong Cricket Club. It just didn't gel right with you.
Correct. And some of them are some of my best mates.
Oh, they're tremendous fellows, tremendous club. But this felt better, and it's KCC's gain, right? And just since you've joined up to now, what does Kowloon Cricket Club mean to you?
A lot, because I actually had a really tough year, my first year here. Obviously moved over without my then girlfriend, who became fiance in that year. So I moved over without her for a year. The first job I had was in a local English centre, and it was an absolute dog show. I was teaching various levels and just really hated it. And so I was actually planning on moving home.
Oh, really?
That year, until I found Kowloon Cricket Club.
Really?
And then everything sort of settled.
So this was 2019.
2019.
And 3 or 4 years later, you're the captain of the Templars that you just talked about, the pinnacle team.
Yeah.
How's that feel for you and the rise? And I mean, only a handful of years.
I mean, I think that captaincy I got by default because poor Simo injured his knee.
No one gets captaincy by default. You earn captaincy of any team, Jay. Don't be humble, my friend.
No, it's been good, and I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed integrating, with the club, and I enjoy a lot about the club. Yeah.
What do you think? Junior program coming up, young guy that I've watched since he's 10 years old now, and he's cemented his spot in the Templars and the Premier League. Dash Vora.
Oh, God. So many good things to say about him. He's like a sponge.
Yeah.
Have
you spent a lot of time with him as far as the bowling?
I have, yeah. I spend quite a lot of time with him at training, more so to make sure that he's working on particular things and not just going through the motions, but just his ability to take on information, learn and execute is phenomenal, and I think it's really proving now in terms of his contributions to the side.
So you're like some people's career, you go from the young one who's listening to, as you get older, to sharing your experiences. you're teaching. You're a professional teacher here in Hong Kong. Does that help you as far as the conversations you're having with the likes of Dash Vor and the others, the young up-and-comers, sharing your experiences?
Yeah, I get a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment out of it, So, even guys like Samad and Jaden and Charlie Walsh, these guys have come through the system. I really enjoy talking about cricket, to them. So, yeah.
Well, I guarantee you they all look up to you enormously, Jay. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and you had that good young squad that you're just talking about looking up to you. I can tell you right now, the next generation, which is mine, is coming. Watch out. It's like a tornado. All your school teaching skills will come into the fray as he moves up through the ranks. We want to talk a bit more about this season as well. And you captained the Templars and you were in the Premier League. How did you feel this season was for the KCC sides?
Yeah, I think, my first time captaining the Templars, the goal, I know that the director set out by the club was to get into a final. My goal was to win it. And in particular, I really wanted to play against HKCC at the end. Unfortunately, weather got in the way of that. But I think the season's gone really well. I think what stands out to me the most about the season is I think for 4 games we played without the national players, and we won 3 of those and lost 1 to the Scorpions quite narrowly in a high-scoring game. And that is also when Jamie and myself weren't available to play. So to me, that stands out the most is that the squad of these young guys, young inexperienced guys that we're talking about, are able to perform, and there's a bit of depth there, which is good. So I think the club is in good hands.
You speak about Jamie, actually. One of the times Jamie was injured, you captained a Premier League game as well for KCC.
Yeah.
Did you put yourself into open bat that day?
That was Templars game.
That was a Templars game. I get them all confused, but there was one game where Jamie was injured after he collapsed on the rope and tried to break a rib, and you went, okay, I'm going to open the batting.
On that note, I don't know why they complain so much about opening the batting. It's a piece of cake.
Oh, you smashed it that day, and
mate, it's like under 11s. You captain, open the bowling, open the batting,
do a bit of keeping.
Do that as well.
Yeah. But on that point, like the running joke about how you're not a joke. I mean, you are a great batter. That you're now a full all-rounder since you've opened the batting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at boarding school, my high school career, I batted 3 and 4 and bowled first or second change. My primary role was actually batting. And then as I moved up the levels, I realized my batting is not quite up to scratch and bowlers are working me out, but I also got a little bit bigger and stronger, so I started to bowl a bit more quicker. So my roles kind of swapped, but I've always been a batting all-rounder or a bowling all-rounder. So.
And a question about this season before we have a look ahead to the next season. There have been complaints that the season is too long. Yes. I'm not naming names on who's complaining that the season is too long, but I have heard that the season is too long from certain players.
Just extending on that, for a lot of the podcasts during the year, Buschy's been going on about the program, the Premier League should be restructured and All-Stars and those types of things.
That was you.
Oh, that's right. That was me. Do you have a view of the structure of cricket in Hong Kong, Premier League, Sunday League, those types of things?
I do. I have a few views. I'll start with the grand final idea. I think we can get rid of that in the league, in the Sunday League. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the Premier League should be played over 2 rounds, both 50 over and
so everybody play each other twice. Yeah.
Then you get 2 cracks at the side, and the top 2 sides, in my opinion, then that end up in the top 2 to go to the final, have then proven enough, especially in T20, because I think that levels the playing field a bit. That way you get more cricket at a higher standard. And then going back to what started this conversation, we need to get rid of this T20 Cup. It's an absolute...
Well, if you're going to the 2 rounds for Premier League, you're going to run out of time if you've still got a Saturday and Sunday Cup. What do you think? You're saying the Sunday T20 Cup needs to go,
Yes.
Does the Saturday T20 Cup go as well, or does that stay?
I think in terms of the problem of Saturday players maybe not having enough cricket, they might also need to relook at the rule of Premier League players not being able to play. I understand for guys like Jamie or Baba or Isaz, but these guys are getting enough cricket. But if you look at a guy like Sunny Bibsaria, Daniel Bakari, just to name a few who are probably fringe players, but are still desperate to get into the Hong Kong national side and want more cricket, I think they should be able to play up and down.
Oh, there is an exemption rule, which I don't understand.
Oh, it's on age. It's on age.
Because there's 4 players that can not just the junior ones. There's 4 players.
Oh, sorry, they're the emerging national players you're talking about. That's
which
right.
is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It should be more than 4 people, you're saying.
I think
So
so.
Shukla's an example of that, right? So he can play Saturday
I think
at this point in time.
DJ can, Nazrullah can.
Yeah.
I know those 2 can.
Yeah.
I don't know what the contract structure is for Cricket Hong Kong or how many guys are actually on contracts, but essentially your contracted players don't play down and everyone else should have the ability.
I think that's some really good food for thought. Absolutely. I think that's really good food for thought. Jay, you had a tremendous year. You're the leading wicket taker in Sunday Div 1 for the Templars that you captained, 15 wickets at an average of 10.13. Thank you very much.
I don't know how many first over maidens I called throughout the season. It was
You
ridiculous.
only played 6 games.
Yeah.
And Paris Benny Singh, he had a great year. He finished equal with you on 15, but he played 10 games. So if you play the whole 10 games, I mean, you're off and gone, right, as far as wicket takers are concerned. So congratulations with that. And I know cricket's a big part of your life, but just want to, as we get towards conclusion, it's not just teaching and cricket. You're doing a lot of charity work as well. I remember being down here at Kowloon Cricket Club when you ran, I don't know what it was. It was 100 million kilometres every 4 hours.
We were
for
calling a game.
24 hours.
Just going
and
around putting
in
in.
circles.
That was
The
for
kids were-
Movember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're wearing your Movember shirt today, actually. And
Yeah.
So what was it? What was that?
So that was essentially it's a challenge that was devised by David Goggins, who's an ex-US Navy SEAL or Special Forces guy, and it's called the 4x4 by 48 challenge. So it's running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Yeah, that's stupid.
So in total, it's 96 kilometers over 48 hours. But getting onto the reason, so my dad had prostate cancer, and he was one of the very first people in Southern Africa to get his operation done through robotics. So it was a robotic surgery.
Wow.
And a large amount of the research and development that went into robotic surgery for prostate cancer was funded by Movember, because it's all about men's testicular and prostate cancer and men's mental health. And essentially he's now been cancer free for probably going on 12 years since the operation.
That's fantastic.
But previously, what was the big killer in prostate cancer was in fact the operation, because of the amount of blood you'd lost. But now with the robotic surgery, he only lost half a cup of blood, and essentially he was back in the office a week later, against doctor's orders. But he was back. He felt healthy enough to be back in the office a week later. So that's sort of really, I've always had a passion for community service.
You'll be doing Movember this year?
I am planning on it.
Excellent.
Depending on how my training for it goes. I've got something pretty big planned. So this year I want to run, row, cycle and swim the circumference of the Hong Kong island
Why?
for Movember.
What about taxis? and Uber?
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah. So the run I will do on a Saturday, the row I will do on the next Saturday, and the cycle the next Saturday, and then the swim I'll just do cumulatively 63 kilometers over the month of.
I'm exhausted just listening to it. I look forward to seeing it on the Instagram. I've got a couple more things I just want to bring up as we're going quite long at the moment for our My Story, which we love.
It's good.
Never have too many stories
not
in
at
My
all.
Story. Firstly, I want to It's Wednesday, May 22nd. We're recording this. Happy birthday for yesterday, Jay.
Thank you very much.
You were on last week's podcast, Buschy's Birthday Bonanza.
Which is the highlight of the podcast every single week, Buschy's Birthday Bonanza. And it was clashing with Buddha's birthday last week as well. So, fantastic. Happy birthday, Jay.
Thanks very much.
I have one final question that was given to me by your teammate, Chris Carter. The question is, what happened at Old Trafford?
Yeah, so a funny story.
Now, if you lie, I'm going to get Chris on next week.
Jay doesn't lie.
You can corroborate the story because I will name names.
Juicy.
I coincidentally wasn't actually involved in the story, but I was involved in the team of two individuals that were involved in the story. So when we went over for the T20, when we went to Ireland for the T20 World Cup qualifiers, we played a couple of pre-tour games against...
This is back to the beginning of this My Story. You were talking the Namibia side.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you play for Namibia.
For Namibia, yeah. So we went over to Manchester to play some pre-tour games against the Lancashire Twos at Old Trafford. And we stayed at the Hilton on the ground. And at the same time, the NatWest T20 Blast was happening, and there was, I think, 2 games. They do that Super Sunday thing. On Sunday, They have 2 games. So that was pretty much the end of our pre-tour. And the coach, Dougie Watson, was a coach at the time, and Dougie said to us, boys, you can have a few beers tonight. You've worked pretty hard in this pre-tour. Have a few beers, enjoy the cricket. If you want to go out, go out. Any case, we did. We had a few beers watching the cricket, and the Lancashire mascot is a giraffe. But it's a guy dressed up in a giraffe, and his face is about 1/3 down the neck, and then the rest of the head is on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of the guys in the side, who are both farmers from the middle of nowhere in Namibia, decided that it would be funny to hunt the giraffe. And so
it was a safari.
Pretty much. Okay. And they were both big boys. Bigger than I am. Big Namibian boys. And one took the giraffe at knee height, the other one at head height, and they absolutely flattened the giraffe and ended up in the holding cell at Lancashire.
Far from ideal.
I had a mouthful of Guinness there, just spat it on you.
And there was a bit of controversy because the cricket board really wanted to make an example of them, but they were 2 quite important parts of.
But it's a giraffe; it's in their blood, right?
of that
couldn't
team.
help themselves.
So they ended up having to do 1 or 2 things. One of them was write an apology letter to the giraffe. And one of the other guys had to wear a giraffe costume for the entirety of the
Luckily,
tour,
the giraffe they decided to tackle can read.
Yeah, correct.
Lovely.
Yeah. So that was one of my all-time favorite stories.
So, 2018, with 2.5 weeks' notice, you come to Hong Kong and leave a lovely young lady behind. All was forgiven. Married recently.
Correct. Last year. Yeah, last year, 15th of July.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jay Davidson, it seems like everything is going absolutely fantastic in your life. Your teaching profession, your cricket, your charity work, your lovely bride. Thank you for joining us on My Story.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
And now it's time for Buschy's Birthday Bonanza.
Alrighty, everyone's favourite time of the week again, coming off the back of a massive Buschy's Birthday Bonanza for Buddha's birthday last week. I'm really looking forward to this one. Buschy, who have we got?
We have got only the one this week, I'm afraid, Mr. Botfield. Not a lot of birthdays late in May. So the one birthday from Diaspora Little Saiwan, turning 25 on the 25th of May. It is Nathan Kellard.
Oh, happy birthday, Nathan. That's tremendous. 25. Tell you what, Buschy, bit of trivia.
Go on.
It's my mum's birthday, Botta's mum.
On the 25th?
Yeah.
Is she turning 25?
No, she's a little bit more than that.
But we're not allowed to mention it.
She looks 25, Buschy.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Happy
Still as
birthday.
beautiful as she was when she was 25.
The Botters matriarch. Happy birthday on May 25, joining Nathan Killart, turning 25.
Happy birthday, Nathan.
Hi, I'm Natasha Miles, captain of the Hong Kong China women's team, and you're listening to the 8 for 52 podcast with Botters and Buschy.
Botters, another big podcast, episode 34 done for the 8 for 52 podcast. What a great episode it was.
Yeah, it was. A lot of fun doing it, I tell you. A lot of my story with Jay Davidson. Wanted him on all year, got him on, and he didn't let us down. Great story. Boy from Namibia finds his way to Hong Kong, finds his way to KCC after a few trials elsewhere. Very happy man, wonderful man, big charity supporter. Great to have him on.
Yeah, it was a great story. It was a long one of our longest My Stories. So make sure if you skip forward a little bit, don't. Go back, listen. There's bits in it that are amazing. And it was a great journey here to Kowloon Cricket Club and Hong Kong.
Yeah, it was great to have him on. Outs and ins, of course. That was fantastic. Saturday Cup semi with the non-Gap Ramblers losing. We told the story about how they put their 11 together.
Again, we's doing heavy lifting here. You completely made up a story that
I did not. That was just the information that I received.
that a bunch of under 18-year-olds were drunk on a bus over to the Cross Harbour.
This is Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not believable.
Well, it might have been if you'd said the bus had picked up at LKF at 3 a.m.
No, it was morning
I am
time.
not. I am not going to degrade the youngsters that played. We had the wonderful Arav Mishra who take a forfeit, and there was that game, yeah.
Yeah.
And also like James Caldwell, the youngster speedster. So they all came down here in their uniforms, their junior uniforms.
That Mohsin Khan pulled out of the office before they pulled him out of the pub.
Might have had to because they all had to change into the Saturday Cup uniform, and they got thrashed.
Anyway, we covered all of that. Tata's ended up taking it out in the last over.
Wow.
Yeah.
That innings from Niaz Ali. His maiden T20 century.
Unbelievable. Well done, Niaz. That was absolutely wonderful effort. Couple of double headers. There was one up the hill, a Sunday T20, and the one down here.
Yeah,
Vagabonds go through, Scorpions go through.
Yeah, a lot of rain, but probably the two best teams on the day.
They're fine. Are they doing the two semis and the grand final on the one day?
Yes, they are.
So that's going to be another triple header, 8:15 start
Probably.
for somebody.
Yeah, June 2nd, the semi-finals and final. So good luck to all the teams in that. Speaking about winning great things, we had our big 8 for 52 podcast prize this week, a ticket to the KCC ball.
How good was that?
Fantastic. And there's something that we didn't put in the intro. We're going to put up on part of the submission from the eventual winner, Atif Hussain. We're going to put it up on the podcast Instagram on Saturday with another submission he put in, because he put in so many, but this one's brilliant. You've got to have a look at it. It's an official Sunday Div 1 team list that was issued to the umpires, the captain, and then to us in broadcast, where we had to enter the names. I'm not going to tell you which team it was. You're going to have a look at it on Saturday when we put it up on Instagram and try to guess which team has submitted the worst. Now, this is the worst. I had another one that was worse. That was the CHK Dragons the season before. This one's worse, and that's impressive.
Oh, without
that's
a
shocker.
doubt. Without a doubt, it's the worst team sheet I've ever seen.
I mean, we know we're getting into end of season like fatigue.
I've seen mistakes on team sheets like, was it a Premier game? It might have been a Premier game, I think, or a Sunday game when we came down here, and Sahar Malvankar was named on the team sheet in the team.
That was the 2-dayer.
That's right.
The
Yeah,
Fincher
that's
Shield.
right. It was. It
But
was.
no, this is way worse.
No, this is off the chart worse.
It's
I've
hilarious.
seen the photo of it. We'll put it up on Insta, and you tell us if you've seen a worse team sheet than this one.
But again, congratulations. Atif Hussain will be joining us Saturday night for the KCC ball, where you and I will be doing some stuff.
Yeah, we will be. We're going to be doing some interviews on stage. We're going to be. I'm hosting the auction.
You are.
It's going to be a wonderful night.
Any weird stuff that I can buy? Last time you did an auction, I ended up with a Pakistani knife.
Yeah, you might have to put your hand a little bit deeper in the pocket for this auction coming up, but I know you got plenty, so that'll be all right.
I am poor. I'm a cricket commentator in Hong Kong. It's not the most well-paid job. We'll have a look, but I think there's some great auction items up, so that's going to be
it'll
fun.
Be a wonderful night, and Atif will join us for that, so that'll be really good. We'll give you a bit of a wrap-up next week, actually. And next week will be our final episode for the year.
Yeah, like episode 35, you'd be going, you're not going to finish off the power play, but there is a bonus episode in this year where we had the full interview with Imran Arif, because that was the longest interview, My Story, we've ever done. So we'll
3 hours.
Yeah, it felt like it at times. We love him. Sorry, Imran. But we will be doing episode 35. Very big, funny final guest for the first season ender coming up next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Last one next week. Looking forward to that already. Ins and outs, we covered all that. This is a triple header mentioned out at Mission Road this weekend. Dragons are playing 2 games. The Lions on in the middle. That'll be good if you want to get out and watch some good cricket. Get out there for an 8:15 start.
And also the women's 6 games out at PKVR, both on the park and the reservoir.
Yeah.
That's on Sunday.
Under 19 grand final Saturday morning. So there's plenty of cricket going on still this weekend. This is the 8 for 52 podcast, the second last one for the year, Buschy. It's time to go.
See ya.
The 8 for 52 theme song is The Coin Toss from the band The Duckworth-Lewis Method. Find them on Apple iTunes and YouTube and download that song and all their other cricket-related music.
The 8 for 52 podcast is written, produced and published by Matt Botfield and Aaron Bush for Trip Ahead Limited. Copyright 2024.
I think